Welcome to Om Times TV, a division of Om Times Media and Broadcasting. Welcome to Ascending with Venus Castleberg, a space where we explore the journey of spiritual awakening, expanding your consciousness and raising your frequency to create a whole new world. We'll dive into the possibilities that open up when you choose to follow the whispers and trust your inner knowing. Each episode is designed to guide you in expanding your awareness, tuning into your intuition, and discovering the magic of your life every day. We'll talk about living aligned with your soul's purpose, going beyond limitations, and creating a life and a world worth celebrating. You are here to embrace who you truly are and step into the infinite potential that's waiting for you. Let's ascend together. And now, here is your host, Venus Castleberg.
Hello, beautiful people. I am so happy to be here with you. This had to be pre-recorded today, so I can't take your questions live, but I would gladly answer any questions you have. You can always just put them in the comments, and I love seeing that some of you are out there watching now and in the future. So I think a lot of you, if you've been watching my show for a little while, have heard kind of my story, but there's been something that I hadn't really shared about was just, in the early days of becoming a clairvoyant medium, I doubted everything. I second guessed everything. As a matter of fact, I think I've second guessed a lot of my lifetime, just not really trusting myself, not really trusting what I'm aware of. And the early days having, crazy things like pink aliens show up and spirits of the dead and just things that the everyday people don't really see or don't really have in their awareness. So, I completely understand why some people think that they should be locked up. But I think a lot of times we think that we might be crazy and the opposite is true. So I know last month we had some guests on and that was kind of the topic. It was like, how do you know you're not crazy? And I think over time it just becomes this like a trust in the universe, a trust in yourself. Maybe it happens from, having a lot of confirmations at first. I know for me, that's in the early days, that's what I looked for. It was like confirmation or some sort of sign that what I was seeing wasn't actually made up in my mind. But I think a different way of maybe thinking about that too is like, for me, a lot of the things that I would think about or have go on in my mind, I couldn't have made up. I'm like, who makes this kind of stuff up? Like, it's not, what's the word? It's not as like if we're looking at something and we're thinking, oh, I must have made this up, it actually diminishes the magic, diminishes the miracle of it, right? So I do talk about this a lot, but it's just such a big topic, especially in this world. Like, there's so much judgment going on out there, right? Like, there's wars still being fought over judgment, religion, and somebody has to be right and somebody has to be wrong. And that judgment it's not creating anything. Well, yeah, I guess it is creating something. It's creating a mess. It's creating, fighting over what, right? Can't everybody have their own points of view? So I guess I just wanted to get on here and talk to a little bit about like how in the early days I did doubt everything, and I did think that maybe I was going crazy, but at the same time, this is interesting to recognize now. At the same time, I was also really excited, like because I knew that there was something else out there, and I really wanted to know that death wasn't the end, and that when people died, like when my dad died, and it took me 10 years to get over the grief of my dad because it wasn't a clairvoyant medium at the time. So I didn't know life goes on. I had only had what I had been taught by religion and peers and parents and grandparents. It's like that, death was the end, and you either went to heaven or you went to hell, and good luck. So, funny story, I used to go to Bible camp for kids when I was a kid, and I loved camp. Camp was a lot of fun, but we had chapel twice a day, twice, if I recall. Yeah, it was twice a day. And I started going. I went for the first time when I was 6 years old, right? And when I was 6 years old, I got saved, right? So they told me that if I didn't get saved, I was going to hell, and so I needed to get saved. So as a impressionable little 6-year-old, of course I got saved. I was like, yeah, sign me up. I don't want to go to hell. That sounds awful. Maybe some of you can relate. And then that was kind of young to go to camp, so I think I didn't go to camp again until I was 11 or something like that. Or maybe I went when I was 8 and 11. I skipped a year or two in there. But when I was 11, I was going to chapel again twice a day, and they again instilling this fear in me was like, I'm gonna go to hell if I'm not saved. And I was like, I think I was saved last time I was here, but I don't know. It might not have taken, so I got saved again, just in case, because I don't want to go to hell. So, there's all these. I guess I share that story because it's like there's all these beliefs about what's right and wrong, good and bad, and that after you die, you're going to either heaven or hell based on whether you're saved. So fast forward till when I was 18, and my dad died. And my dad loved the outdoors, and he really loved me, but he didn't really like people all that much. And he could be kind of a jerk sometimes. I even remember one time being in a grocery store with him, and we were in a hurry. We were on our way to something, and he was in a hurry, and so we were checking out, and the woman, you're supposed to like count out the money and the change, and and he was like, it's okay, I trust you. He didn't even say I trust you, but he said, it's okay, you don't have to count it. We're in a hurry. But she still had to count it out, right? And then he just grabbed the dollar bills and like went like this, and then the change went everywhere. So he could be a little bit of a jerk. And he, as far as I know, he never went to church, or there was no religion in his background. So when he died when he was 18, I grieved for 10 years because I thought my dad probably went to hell if it was based on whether he was saved or not. And if he was a nice person or not, and I was like, so having that like really eat away at me, and just like every time I think about my dad, I'd cry because I'd be like he's burning in hell. I personally, I'm not here to change anybody's religion today, but I personally don't believe that there's a heaven and a hell, just because of my experiences with the afterlife now. But that having that grief, and then when I was 30, becoming a clairvoyant medium, I really believe I got that gift because it helped me heal from the grief that I was experiencing about my dad, because I realized when I could start seeing spirits, I realized death wasn't the end. It was death of the body, but the spirit still goes on. And so since then, I've had some very close people to me pass away, and I get to get visits, and when my grandmother died, really special woman. I've shared her story before, I think. No, maybe I haven't. My grandmother her family used to hide Jews in their basement. And there is a reason for this, these stories, but so their family, were during World War II, used to hide Jews in their basement. And my grandmother was really kind of this silver lining to every cloud, very positive person, just saw the good in everyone and everything. And that really rubbed off on me. It showed me that there really is something good in everything. And I can look back at most of my life and most of my experiences, and if not all of them, and see how they worked out in my favor. Now, I will say they weren't always fun, and that, I'm not saying that my life has always been bubblegum, rainbows, and unicorns. But you can make it bubblegum, rainbows, and unicorns. So doubt is judgment, right? And if we are looking at okay, something's happening. Maybe something's happening in your life that, isn't that great. Like when I lost my grandma, right? But she came to visit me immediately. And when she was alive, she would run her fingers through my hair. And when she died, I knew she died. And then she came in spirit, and I was curled up on my couch or chair or something like that. And she was running her energetic fingers through my hair. It was beautiful, right? So I've had enough of those sorts of confirmations for myself and for others that I don't really doubt what I'm perceiving or seeing or feeling. But I know that can be a slippery slope, right? Because a lot of us don't want to be that different, don't want to be that weird. I sure didn't. I did not want to be the crazy lady. I didn't want to be the one that stood out. Now I'm just like, I tell all my stories. You get to hear a lot of them. I've written a book, told all my secrets in my book. So if you ever want to learn about my secrets, just read my book. It's called Here to Forever, Finally Free to Be Me, because I know somebody out there just went, what's the name of the book? And you can get it on Amazon. But just this willingness to be different and to be judged by other people, but not judge yourself, not judge your own capacities. Right? I tried so hard to fit in, play the middle of the road, like literally the middle of the road. Wasn't too popular, but I also wasn't too unpopular. Like I was like right there in the middle, and I was friends with everybody, right? Friends with the popular kids, friends with the unpopular kids. I had no discrimination. I guess that's a superpower of mine. I've really spent a lot of my life not judging others, but I have spent a good portion of my life judging myself, comparing myself. Comparison is judgment as well. Did you know, maybe a little side note here, but I think it's still in line with what we're talking about. Did you know that you have unique capacities that only you can bring here? Because nobody else is you, right? You have your own unique expression that you're here to bring. But a lot of us are constantly, and I was like this forever, most of my life. I would look at the way somebody else was doing something and I'd be like, oh, I should do it that way. Or somebody was having some success over here and I'd be like, oh, I should do it that way. And I'd just be like constantly comparing myself, constantly judging myself, constantly looking at like what I was doing compared to other people. If I wasn't having some success with what I was doing, then I would, in my own definition of success as well, right? So then I would stop doing that and I would start doing something else. Why do you think I studied 25 different modalities? It wasn't just so that I could better myself, although that did happen, fortunately, because the hundreds of thousands of dollars that I spent, at least that helped me better myself. But I was always studying the next thing because I thought that was the right thing, or that was the thing I was supposed to be doing. Like, talk about, I don't know if you guys know what the word polymath means, but a polymath is another way of saying a jack of all trades in the spiritual realm, like somebody who knows a lot of spiritual trades. So that's probably me now, which is funny. Because I made myself wrong for not making up my mind what I wanted to do, feeling like I was supposed to find the one thing that I was supposed to do, and do that. And I'll do one thing for a little while, and then I'll be like, I want to do something different. And so I'll go create something different. Because I just like to do different things. Like, I like to explore. I like to explore spiritual world. I like to explore the world. I like to travel. I like to try. I've tried lots of different relationships. Read my book, find out all about it. Or don't. I don't care. But it's funny because the book was really about like how much I looked for the one relationship that was gonna make me feel whole, perfect, and complete. And how much I've looked for the one modality to make me whole, perfect, and complete. And it's only, or the one place, like I've moved a lot too, so like looking for the one place that was going to make me feel whole and complete. Funny thing, none of those things ever made me feel whole and complete. I still always felt like something was missing because I wasn't at home in here. I hadn't come to peace with myself. I hadn't fallen in love with myself. I hadn't realized that I was whole and complete already within myself. But the doubt or the fears or the when we're looking comparison and all that stuff, we're looking outside of ourselves for what exists only inside of ourselves. You can only find it within you. You can't find it outside of you. It doesn't matter how many modalities you study, or how many practices you do, or how many friends you have, or how much money you have in the bank. None of that will make you feel whole and complete if you don't know that you're whole and complete in here already. Everything else in life is a bonus, right? If you have great relationships, bonus. If you have somebody you like to talk to, bonus. If you have an animal sitting in your lap right now, I have a cat in my lap, bonus, right? But they don't make you who you are. Who you are is already in here. And then, oh, look, how cool to have people and animals and places you love and things you love. I can't tell you how many times I crawl in bed and I just love the way the sheets feel. And I love my bed. My bed is so comfortable, right? So how comfortable, how blessed are you when everything is a bonus? Everything is an addition. And that only came and only comes, because I'm not perfect and I still fall into it sometimes, but it's less and less. Definitely the older I get, the less I care. The less I care about what other people think, less I even have a point of view. Like even my husband the other day, he was like, so what do you think about right before you fall asleep? And I'm like, nothing. He's like, what? I'm like, my mind nowadays is mostly blank, like most of the time. And if there's something on my mind, then I'm usually saying what's on my mind. But that has come to me and I have 2 tricks for you. I highly recommend meditation. I know some of you haven't even tried it yet, or are resistant to it, or think that you have to quiet your mind. Quieting my mind did not come. I used to meditate for 1 to 2 hours every single day for 5 years in my shaman studies. And it was only after the 5 years, or towards the end of the 5 years, that I started to have space and quiet. So meditation, you can get there, but sometimes that takes time, right? So that's why we do guided visualizations, because then you're not following your monkey mind and we can just be guided through meditation. But the other tool that has been such a gift to me is called Access Consciousness, the bars. And I have seen whole lives change in 1 session or 2. I get my bars run and run bars probably 3 to 4 times a week. So very often. But that's just me because my husband runs bars and we can trade. But it's so good. My mom calls it a brain colonic. It's just so good at just getting all the junk out, like emptying the mind, like letting us relax. What if life didn't have to be about pressure and have-tos and comparisons and competition, right? And it was only about like, how can you make your life even better? How can you have a more quiet mind? How can you relax and let go? How can you find wholeness and completeness within you? It sure doesn't happen when we're judging anything. We're judging the messages we're receiving, judging the messages we're not receiving, judging. So a great example is like last year. Last year was a massive creative year for me. I created a ton of programs and products in our shop. I taught a few different rounds of Psychic University. It was a very productive, creative year. And I love to create. So it was awesome. But then when the programs that were live that I ended on December 15th, guess what? It became quiet. Well, it almost became like crickets. It was that quiet. I was like, whoa, wait, what happened, right? But there was nothing to create. There was nothing to do. There was just be. Right? But I had like a little bit of like doubt and anxiety, like not anxiety. I don't really experience anxiety much, but just doubt, kind of like, or, and then wondering, well, am I on the right path? Do I need to change path? Like, what does this mean? So I still run into stuff like that, right? But the message I just got was just relax. Just enjoy it. Enjoy not having this massive creation time, because you're about to enter into a new phase. And the wasn't directly said to me, but kind of the feeling that I got was that it was about to get really, really busy. And that in that really busy, I was going to be grateful for having a couple of months of rest, right? And, there's different phases of the year of our lives. I'm fortunate enough that my birthday falls in the winter. And I just heard this from somebody else recently that apparently 2 months before our birthday and 1 month after our birthday is a death cycle. And death is the ending. But when you have an ending, then you have a new beginning. Well, isn't it interesting that my birthday falls in February? So that means all of winter, January, February, and March, is this death cycle, which is actually in the seasons a death cycle. Winter is a death cycle. And then when things die, then spring brings new beginnings, new, right? That new energy. So I'm excited because I actually can feel the energy of April already. We have some cool things coming. We'll keep you posted. But I'm like, oh, okay. So this rest period, this death cycle, this period of time is just giving me the energy to then, step into the new beginnings. Like the seeds are dormant underneath the frozen earth, for those of you in the northern hemisphere anyway. And as the seeds are dormant right now, there's this when the air is like getting a little bit warmer, and it's like it's almost like there's this like they're not quite growing yet, but there's this little like hum, like they're humming, and they're like, we're about to hit spring, and then we can sprout. I'm cracking myself up today, so I hope I'm entertaining you guys. But anyway, like I shared that because I think that it's just so easy to be like, things aren't going the way that I want them to go in my life. Things aren't, they're not moving fast enough. I love things to be creative, and I love to be exploring, I love to be traveling, and I love things to be going fast, right? And so when things are like slow down, quiet, calm, relax, maybe take another bath. There's not a lot of hiking in the winter. You can do some for sure. I like to ski, luckily, so that gets me outside, but still, there's just not as much outdoor activity for me. So it's like, okay, how can I be okay with whatever season I'm in right now and not judge it as right or wrong, good or bad? What if it's just the way things are, and then when things are meant to change, they'll change, and there will be spring again, there will be summer again, there will be fall, and then we'll be in another winter before we know it. I actually can't even believe it's already March, and like the first 2 months of the year went by super fast, and I just had this random thought. I was just like, wow, Christmas will be here before we know it. Okay. So we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Om Times TV. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome forward, everyone. Thank you again for being here, watching now and in the future. I was just thinking again about like how. So one of the things I want to talk about was like, so judgment kills what's possible. Meaning judgment actually keeps us stuck. So if you're feeling like you're stuck or you're feeling like things aren't moving, there's a great book. I know I've recommended it a few times because I just discovered it last year. It's called The Gap and the Gain. Absolutely excellent book. And I've said it a lot over the years because it's something that I've also really had to work through, is like letting go of judgment and finding gratitude, right? And he calls it the gap and the gain in the book. So meaning you can focus on something as a gap, like it's not working out, it's not going the way you want it to, there's something wrong with you, you're all messed up, whatever, right? All those judgments are gaps thinking. Like you focus on the gap, maybe what you've lost. I mean, we've all had relationships end and maybe some that we didn't want to end. And so there was like this depression, like because we really focused on what we lost instead of what was the gain, right? So we stay stuck when we're in the gap thinking, when we're constantly focused on what isn't showing up. What do I not have? Comparison. You know, what is that person doing over there? Why do they have a successful business and I don't? So that was a common one for me. But actually, truth be told, I know exactly why my business never like really grew until the last few years, was because I, one, was always in judgment and comparison, but I was also always changing tracks. Like I was like, I would do this for a little while and then be like, oh, I find a new modality and be like, oh, I'm going to do this. So I was like all over the place, like, oh, I'll try this one. Oh, I'll try that one. Oh, that must be the right one. Still looking for the right one, trying to avoid doing the wrong one. Is there a wrong modality? All modalities help some people, like in some way, right? But different modalities work for different people. So, but I was always looking for like what would fix me because I was fucked up, messed up. So if we can really see that judgment is the one thing that keeps us stuck, that keeps us focusing on lack, that keeps us focusing on what we've lost or what we don't have, then we can't ever be in the gain, right? We can't ever be in the gratitude. If we can look at everything as it's working out in our favor, even if we can't see how, and trust me, I've been through some very uncomfortable moments. I've lost some people to me, I'm very dear to me, in life, in, you know, the death of their bodies, right? I've had all of that happen, but now I can see in different ways, each one, like the blessings in them. Yeah, was I still sad? Absolutely. But you can focus on the loss of it or what is the gain. So this is an interesting story I'm thinking of, but I used to be a really big hockey fan. I grew up in Alaska and my high school sweetheart was the captain of the hockey team. So that's where it started, right? And then fast forward and I get married to my first husband in Pennsylvania and he loves hockey too. And we have season tickets to the Flyers, right? And Wayne Gretzky was one of my absolute favorite players of all time. And my husband at the time got me a signed jersey, right? Now, you would have thought that maybe I would have kept that signed jersey for a long time. Well, for the amount that I travel and move and explore, I do not keep things for very long. I think owning this house is probably the longest I've owned anything. But I could focus on that I no longer have that jersey, and that maybe that jersey right now is worth a lot. But I gave it to somebody who was very special to me, and I know for a fact, or I'm pretty sure, we're not in contact anymore, but I'm pretty sure he still has it, because he was a huge hockey fan as well. And like, how do I look at that? Do I look at like, oh, I don't have that thing anymore? Or, wow, somebody I really cared about has that thing, and he gets a lot of joy out of having that thing. It's all in how we look at it. So the saying, is the glass half empty or is the glass half full? It's just on how we look at it. But if you're looking at, like, say, your spiritual gifts, and they're not the same as somebody else, or you'd like them to be farther along than they are right now, or maybe you're like me, and sometimes you get a lot of messages and a lot of information, and then sometimes it just goes quiet, and then when it goes quiet, you're like, did I do something wrong? Notice how that's a judgment, right? And then that gets me stuck in the loop, instead of being like, okay, how about I just relax and enjoy this time of rest before things get crazy busy again, as I know they will, right? Springtime always brings new energies. And that energy of new beginnings. So if we can start to see wherever we are in our lives right now as a gift, even if it's uncomfortable and even if it's not where we want to be, then we also allow for that to change quicker. So judgment will keep us stuck, whereas gratitude, or looking at the gains, or will start the energy moving, and you'll get unstuck a lot quicker. So with that, judgment's a tricky one, and doubt, because it comes in lots of different ways, right? The doubt, the comparison, all the things I already talked about. And if you'd like to expand your gifts and your spiritual gifts, or you'd like to have a spiritual awakening, maybe that's where you are on the path. It does come down to learning to trust what you're perceiving, what you know, what you're seeing, right? But it's between you and you. I think that's the other tricky part, is a lot of people think that because I'm seeing spirits, I now need to go tell everybody I'm seeing spirits. Or I've had people say they got visited by Jesus, or visited by the devil even. Like, there's lots of visitors, right? But is that story something that everybody needs to hear, or is that something that's really just for you, right? You don't need to tell everybody your truth. That's actually not necessarily a kindness, right? Now, you can. There's nothing wrong if you decide to tell everybody your truth. That's up to you. But maybe ask a question to yourself before you share your story with somebody. Can this person hear it? Can this person receive it? Will it be a contribution to them? Or is this just for me, just for fun, right? It may be just for you, just for fun, right? Whatever messages you're getting might be just for you. I channel the collective, and for a long time, that was just for me, right? It wasn't something that I did for other people, and, but now we're going to be doing a column in Home Times magazine, so stay tuned. I think that's really exciting. But we don't, we tend to get information or get something and then we give it back to people. And the only reason why I'm saying maybe don't do that, or maybe ask a question before you do that, is because if you tell somebody that judges you, that thinks you're wrong, that then you buy their point of view and now you're stuck again because you're stuck in their judgment. You're not stuck in your judgment at first, but it becomes your judgment because they have a point of view about, oh, you're crazy, or that, that couldn't be possible, or whatever their points of view are, right? Gary Douglas used to astral travel. So if you don't know what astral travel is like your spirit leaves your body, usually at night when you go to sleep, and go somewhere. Well, he would literally leave his body and go into the living room and watch television, watch with his parents. He wanted to watch television, but because his mom said he had to go to bed, his spirit would get up and go watch television. So, and then he told his mom, "Oh, Mom, I watch TV with you and Dad at night." And his mom said, "You can't do that." And then guess what happened? He believed her because he was young and impressionable, and she had a judgment, and then he could no longer astral project after that because he believed what she said, right? So that's the other reason why you just want to be careful of who you tell, because you want people that would be excited for you and believe you and supportive and encourage you and be I am so grateful to those of you out there who are parents, who when your children come to you and say that they see fairies and they see beings without bodies, that you encourage them and tell them that's so cool. That is such a gift, because kids are that's where we shut down most of our stuff early on. We all have these capacities we come in with, and then somewhere we buy the judgments or points of view of somebody else, and then suddenly we can't see them anymore. I work with people now trying to open up their sight again that had it when they were young, but they shut it down for one reason or the other, right? So thank you to those of you who are parents, and encourage your children when they come to you with magical stories that maybe to the mainstream people doesn't make sense, but it's real. And for those of you who are experiencing a spiritual awakening or seeing things for the first time, it's real. You're not making it up. And just make sure that you're telling people that can hear it, so that you keep getting encouraged and can be constantly staying in the game and gratitude, and not go into judgment and doubt and the gap. And that will also really shift your awareness of who you really are, right? Focusing on what you're grateful for, about what you can do, who you are, your capacities, your gifts, right? How many of you can ask yourself this question, but how many of you know that you shift a room when you walk into a room? Or that people come to you and tell you their stories because they feel better afterwards. Not because you're a therapist or you're there, but because you're just that kind of person that they're like, wow, thank you for listening to me and not judging me. That's a gift in the world. Right? What if not only did we not judge ourselves, but what if we just also stopped judging others and having a point of view about what other people were choosing or not choosing? If you have magical capacities, be excited about it, but maybe keep it to yourself. You don't have to tell anybody right now. If there's a time and a place and it'll be a contribution to somebody, then awesome. But that's not why you have those gifts in the first place. What if you actually have the gifts and capacities that you do for your own healing, for your own awareness? And it's not meant to be out there for anybody else. At least not yet. Maybe it will someday. It took me years and years of having my own gifts and capacities before I started helping others with theirs and teaching Psychic University. But it was because I had to go through my own healing and transformation with it first. And then it became fun to contribute to others with their spiritual awakenings. So yeah, I think I just wanted to really get on here and encourage you to, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like things are not moving the way that you would like them to move, you're probably in some sort of judgment about where you are or some sort of gap thinking. I highly recommend that book, The Gap in the Game. It's just a really good practical way of getting the difference when you focus on the gap versus the game. And we all slip in and out, like in focusing on what's wrong or what's not working, or, how it could be better, right? Instead of just being like, okay, maybe this is happening for a reason. One of the ways to look at it is like you're always in the game. So either you're learning something or you're just in the game, right? So in the times when it seems like there's a gap, like let's say somebody passes away and there's a loss, right? The game is learning from that. Like, what can you learn from that? What can you gain from that? I know for a fact I had just left for college when my dad, 2 weeks after I left for college, my dad passed away. But what I didn't tell you about that story was I was going off to college and I didn't have any money to go to college. So I was planning on getting a student loan. And at the airport, I asked my dad if he could help with college. Well, it turns out years earlier, my mom had decided to go back to college. And so he had put money aside for my college. And she asked if she could use that money for her college, and then she put me through college. And of course, my dad did. But then by the time I was going to college, my mom didn't have the money to put me through college. So I asked him if he could help me go to college. And he asked me how much it was. And he wasn't all that happy because he didn't have that money sitting aside for me like he had planned. And then 2 weeks after I went to college, he passed away. And on some level, years later, it wasn't right away, but on some level later, I was like, oh, that's how he paid for my college. I did get an inheritance and I was able to pay cash for my college. So, yeah, it was hard. And yeah, it was sad. I grieved for a very long time. But I'm grateful now because he really did set me up financially to not be in debt to college for years and years, right? So, and then I even got married young, and so he also paid for the wedding. So, thanks, Dad. So, but I can look back now and be like, okay, that was a gain. I would have rather had my dad, truthfully, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't still didn't still work out in my favor, even though it didn't look the way that I wanted it to. Right? So there's always a gain if you're willing to look for the gain. There's always a reason to be grateful if you're willing to look for what to be grateful for. And yeah, sometimes you have to dig a little, okay, I can't really see what to be grateful for here, so maybe I'll just be grateful. I'm going to be grateful right now that I have a kitty in my lap. She's sleeping. And every time I pet her, she purrs. Such a sweetheart. So, yeah. Right? So maybe it's not on that topic, but it's something that you can be grateful for. That it's tricky, right? It's like if you follow the rabbit down the rabbit hole and you're focusing on what's not working, guess what you get more of? What's not working. So that's why it's so important to pivot our point of view, to look from a different perspective and be like, okay, what is working right now? What is going right now? And it might be something small, like, hey, I woke up today, right? Hey, that's something to be grateful for. Some people did not wake up this morning, right? So what can we be grateful for? And what can we focus on that has us elevate our energy? And that elevation of our energy then elevates our capacities. It elevates our spiritual gifts. It expands them. It makes them even greater. The judgment, the doubt actually diminishes what you're capable of. And the gratitude, the gain, as you see more of what's possible, and then it brings you to the next thing. What's possible now? What's possible now? So when I found myself really in a lot of gap thinking, I was starting to get depressed. I couldn't see the forest through the trees. I was lost. I was doubting everything. I was confused. Like it just snowballed. Like I was feeling sick all the time. I was starting to feel ill. Like I just wasn't comfortable in my body. So many things feed that, right? I think you've all heard that story, like what happened, there's a wolf. I'm way paraphrasing it, but like basically there's the wolf of fear and I don't even remember what the other wolf is, but we'll say the wolf of possibility. It's like, and which one do which one grows? Whichever one you feed. So if you feed the fear or the doubt or the judgment, like or comparing yourself to others, comparing your gifts to others. Oh, my gift's not as good as that. That's a cool gift. I just see dead people. Or whatever, right? Like, and then, or you could just be like, how cool. I have this capacity. I can see dead people. What else is possible? So great questions in Access Consciousness that I absolutely love. What else is possible, and how does it get better than this? And you can ask those questions when things are crap to elevate yourself, and you can ask those things when things are great to elevate yourself. So allowing yourself to be in more of a state of like, okay, universe, this was happening for a reason. Maybe I don't understand the reason why it's happening right now, but I'm going to be grateful for it because there's some reason behind it. And, how can I use it to my advantage? What's the beauty underneath this? Just lots of different ways to start looking for how to be grateful for it, how to elevate. I just love that word today. That's just how to elevate our thinking, how to elevate our spirits, how to elevate our energy. If you ever noticed that you are feeling down or you're feeling depressed, when people are down and depressed, where do they usually look? They look down. Here's today's trick. If you were ever feeling down and depressed, look up. Even just do it right now. Look up. Look up and see how you feel when you look up. I don't know about you, but I always feel better when I look up. And when I take a minute to just be like, okay, look up. Other ways to elevate the way that you're feeling in the moment. Maybe you're physically not feeling well. Drink a ton of water. Drink a quart of water very fast. And it enlivens the body, it oxygenates the body, it gets the cells moving, and it elevates the energy. So just some tricks to help get yourself out of the pit of whatever despair, fear, judgment, and to start to elevate yourself. And when you are being grateful, I know I already said this, but I just want to re-emphasize it. When you are being grateful, when you are in an elevated state, and you're like, okay, I have these gifts. What else is possible now? How does it get even better? You will be open to more possibilities. And I think in life, we all want more possibilities, don't we? We all want to feel like there's something else possible out there for us. Thank you all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. I look forward to seeing you again next week.